and welcome again to In the Studio with Matt, Tommy, and Pattie and Hal. We're really glad to be here with you today, and I'm just glad it's not raining outside, because it seems like every time we've done the show lately, it's like, and it's another rainy day in Asheville, but Pattie's like, it's looking up, the sun is out. Oh, what a beautiful morning. So it's afternoon. So anyway, isn't it pretty outside?
It is. I think it's a sign.
I know. Finally, it's a good day. It's a good time. We love being right down here in downtown Asheville because you can see all the great people. Did you see? I don't know. We tried not to let on last week, but there was this dude that like came up and plastered himself to the window, and it was like, what in the world is going on? He was like, bah! And so anyway, we try not to let that throw us off, but I was like, whoa, what was that? So, hey, I'm being cool with it. So, anyway.
I was like, just keep talking.
Just keep talking,
keep
man.
talking.
That's right. The show must go on. The show must go on. So, well, one of the things we always love to kind of talk about on this show is just different things that we do to be creative and keep it, keep our creative life spiced up. And, Pattie and I have this long-running joke about the Goodwill and about finding finds. And so, of course, we were talking about that on Sunday afternoon after church and with our families and joking about it and everything. And then here, I get up from my Sunday afternoon nap on Sunday, and there's Pattie plastered all over Facebook with her little Goodwill find. So, Pattie,
the very, very cool cowboy boots. I said I wish I could show them online, but
you probably can, but it might be a little precarious.
It may not be the best thing to do, but they're very cool cowboy boots.
If you want to go to Facebook, wherever you are in the world, I'm sure there's some sort of featured article about Pattie's cowboy boots somewhere.
And I tell Matt he's just jealous because I had my few superstar moments of fame just because of these very, very cool cowboy boots that I got for $3.75.
They are cool, but I said, there's just this. The only comment I could think of at that point was just Lysol, because I'm like, wow. It was reminiscent of the bowling alley. It's like you're wearing these shoes that somebody else has worn for years and years and years, and my little feet just curl up, and they're just So
well,
I
see,
hear
that's the key with Goodwill. Yes, Lysol and bleach and all those things, but I wasn't going to agree with you. So
well, not on Facebook, and then I went on there, and then I told her, I said, if this had been me on Facebook, I said, there Pattie was in all her glory, standing in her hallway with her new little Goodwill outfit on and her shoes and all this kind of stuff. And I said, if that had been me, and what'd you say? Because that was perfect.
I said, that wouldn't work for you because you're not a girl. And girls get to do those little moments of vanity, and we get away with it.
And I'm like, believe me, I've been married 16 years. I know about the girl, special treatment here. So
I don't think I've ever taken that freedom to have that little vanity moment, though. So it was really fun.
Well, why not? Why not?
It was all about the boots, though,
Well,
I did do a duck face, though. Our administrator at our church,
right.
Cherie, yesterday was
right.
at church. She said, the duck face on Facebook. So Wayne was like, come on, you got to do the duck face. So I thought I may send that to Cherie in a private message, but I just couldn't put that out there,
That's right. That's right. Well, it's so important. You are the queen, though, of being able to find stuff like that. I said every time I go in a place, we joke a lot. I love to find a deal, too, at the Restore or whatever, but I do not have the patience to dig. I think you have the anointing of dig.
We just got another plastering on the window.
That's right. You have the anointing to dig. I do not have the anointing to dig. I mean, it's like I want to walk in. I think it's a man thing. Like, I want to walk in and see what I want, buy what I want to buy quickly and get out so I can get on to something else. And you're like, no, it's about the process of, I don't know.
The treasure hunt.
The treasure hunt.
But I don't think it's a girl thing, because Wayne, my husband,
yeah.
that's like, he and I are in our synergy place. When we are thrift shopping and flea marketing, it's like, we find the best collections. We know like what's great in glassware, and
right.
He knows everything. He
I
knows all the
stepping
antiques
in something and smelling like smoke, and I'm just like, then I'm mad, and I'm like, what am I doing? I just don't.
We're praying for your deliverance.
I know, that's right. I appreciate that. I cannot get into it. Well, it's probably a good day that we're talking about what we're talking about today, because we're talking about unlocking the heart of the artist and a lot of the cool things that we have going on around there. And Patty would probably say I need to have the spirit of thrift shopping unlocked in me. So that's
Yeah.
maybe that's a whole other show that we can.
Everyone pray with me for Matt that his thrift mentality would rise forth.
That's right. The gene of thrift mall shopping. So
It is so fun though to find those treasures,
Right.
and it does take an eye. And a lot of
Right.
times, like for the things we shop for, Wayne and I, it really takes an eye and studying, what you
Right.
want and what you want to develop as collections. But I love the clothing, like just finding a pattern or a fabric that I love and ripping that up and making something new out of
Right.
it. It's just very creative.
I just call it
Cool.
hoarding. So, anyway. The Learning Channel was made for these times. So anyway.
Now, if I could turn it into money,
Oh yeah, then
Matt would be like,
if I can make 30% off of it, I'm there. I mean, I'm totally there. So anyway,
and I thought maybe I could. Maybe I do have an anointing for this. I could just
See?
start a shop or something.
Shabby Chics,
Yeah.
Pattie's Palace. Well, never mind. It's about to, this is what you call digressing on the. See, it's very
We are
easy.
digressing.
My mouth starts talking before my mind thinks, and it's not a good thing. So, anyway, well, we're real excited to be talking about just topics around unlocking the heart of the artist today, because as many of you know, that is really what helped the book Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. Really is what helped us start a lot of what we're doing with the worship studio. And it's just really, I don't know, it's cool. I think we talk a lot about, going through stuff in your life and coming to those points where you think, will God ever use me again? Or could I ever get to the point where I'm really fulfilled and living the life that God has called me to? And it's really neat for me, I think for both of us, to see now kind of in this place in the journey how God has used brokenness, craziness, confusion, thinking like we're the only ones sitting out there on the backside of a desert somewhere going, does this even make sense? Did God create me this way? Now using that journey to inspire artists all over the world. And that's really a cool thing.
Yes, it is. And Unlocking the Heart of the Artist has been such a journey of that. I don't know if this was all in your mind when you began to write this book, but how it's progressed from the book to the experience guide to the course that we're doing,
Right.
to the retreats, and just the message of what's in the book and how it's reaching so many artists. It's just been it's been fun to be part of the journey. So
Yeah, for me, it was an interesting journey because, I had come out of a time where I had been out of ministry for a season and was considering getting back in, and had turned down a big job up in a church job up in New England. And the Lord asked me, he never said yes or no. He just kind of like, is this your DNA? And that was a really cool. They're showing us their Goodwill stuff. That's great.
we have to take a break and say,
That's right.
Pete,
That's right.
Pete, the owner of the radio, just came and put up a sign in the window that said,
I got this at Goodwill
"I
yesterday.
got this at Goodwill for $2.75," and it's like, this shirt, yeah.
He's bragging up. That's funny. Well, I was in kind of a season where I was wondering if I was going to get back into ministry again, and just trying to figure out, what was the next stage. And as I was in that place with the Lord, I really was feeling this draw to do something that was really an expression of His heart through me, not just another time in my life where I'd get on somebody else's bandwagon or jump into the ministry machine and kind of do the things that I had always known to do. And so, a big part of that journey was, then sharing that journey with other artists. And, if you've read the book, somebody gave me an art gallery there in northwestern Atlanta. There's just a lot of really great stuff that went on. But as we began to look for resources, and I kind of wanted to do a small group with artists and kind of begin to talk about the relationship between art and faith and what God wanted to do through creative people in the kingdom, I really couldn't find anything that was out there that dealt with the issues that I felt like were important, which were not only this role of the artist in the kingdom, but also having our identity really based in wholeness in the Lord, as opposed to this performance mentality. And I know, you've been doing this long enough, Pattie. You know that's a major deal for a lot of artists. We love to make everything look shiny and bright and everything's great, but on the inside we can be broken, and just love to hide that because we don't feel like we can be really who we are. And that to me was the whole message of Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, and continues to be really our core message at the worship studio.
I hate to bring this back to the Goodwill again, but when I was a teenager, I was always an artist. I mean, I always knew from the time I was a child, that's who I was. In school, with my friends, in any clubs or groups that I joined, I was the artist. And during high school, I know that I would constantly be looking for new styles and new fashions. And we didn't have a Goodwill there, and I didn't do thrift shopping, but I was always looking for materials and that kind of thing. And I would make my own clothes. And I was always a step ahead of everybody in fashion. Like, I would wear the craziest things to school that I would create. And then everybody thought I was the weird one, and I kind of liked that because I was the artist. But then I also was very insecure about it at the same time, but I just kept doing it because I had to. And it was like, it was in that place of like being really authentic. Like, I just had to be who I was and wear what I wanted to wear. That it's like now I love that. I love being able to find things at Goodwill, to recreate things, and I don't have any. Like, I can just banter with you as much as I can, no matter how snotty you get about it. But it's like finding like who you really are and being okay with that. And I think that runs through your book so much. It's like you are created to be a little weird. You are created to be different, and find out who you really are as an artist. What is your DNA as an artist? And how can you use that for the glory of the Lord? And how can you use that to be really authentically you? Yeah. In all of your glory and all of His glory.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's still, I think it was Bill Johnson that said, the more I get to know the Lord, the more me I really become. And, or maybe I said that. I don't know. But whoever
Bill
said
Johnson or Matt Tommy.
It's always good, either one of us. But he talks a lot about that concept in his book, Dreaming with God, which is a big inspiration for me writing this book. But it was it's one of the things we want to talk about today as we continue on the show, talking about what it really means to get in that place where you don't feel the pressure to perform and you don't feel the pressure to be somebody you're not, but really you can press into all that God's called you to be and have your heart really unlocked. So we'll be back here in just a moment here on In the Studio.
WGNW 95.7, The Choice, where we believe a song can still change the world.
Where do you turn for Christian concerts and events?
Where can you get news from a Christian perspective and encouraging articles written by and about the local Christian community? Turn to the Journey Christian newspaper.
Available in print and online.
Visit www.journeychristiannews.com
or call 828-676-6535.
The Journey Christian newspaper.
Encouraging Christians on their walk with Christ.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design, overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. And we're back here today on In the Studio. I'm Matt Tommy here with my co-host Pattie and Hale. And you can always listen to us live on 957thechoice.com, or you can get us on Facebook in our archives at facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. Or also always visit our website at theworshipstudio.org and get all the resources, blogs, videos, and books, and just a lot of other cool stuff that that artists are looking at. It's always cool to me when I look at our website stats and see people from all over the world. I was doing the email newsletter this morning, and somebody joined our newsletter from New Zealand. I'm like, who's looking at this in New Zealand? That's always cool to me. But well, we were talking just a minute ago about this whole concept of really being who you are and who God created you to be, as opposed to feeling the need to perform. And it's interesting because this has been an ongoing thing for me. I think with my own story of coming into recovery and really living a life that is whole, not based in performance, not based in fear, and I talk a lot about that in the book. But it's interesting. We've been having a lot of conversation about that lately in the studio, and and like in the real studio, not like in the studio of the radio station, but in the real studio. And it's been interesting. I just wrote a blog the other day called Message and Mystery, or Mystery and Message. I'm not sure which one it was, but I shared in there. It was kind of, and it's very much related to this concept in the book that the older I get, and I'll be 40 this year in 2013.
And he says that with no problem. Look at that.
No problem. Well, I rest always that I am younger than you, but
I will be 40 this Saturday. Yay!
That's right. But it's like the more that I really embrace this idea of who God's called me to be, the more comfortable that I get in not having to do anything for God per se, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean that I'm not dreaming. That doesn't mean that that's an excuse to do bad work or be sloppy in my craft. It doesn't mean that I'm not passionate or that I don't have dreams and visions of things that I want to see come. But it allows me to live in this place. And again, this is always a pursuit of mine. You don't always, you're not always like you're living in this sweet spot 100% of the time, but my pursuit has changed. My pursuit in my life, my creative life and my personal life, is to live at a place of peace and wholeness, and to be holistic in that, to not have this expression of my life that's one way over here and one way over here, but really is a beautiful expression of who God has created me to be. And I know that's a big part of what we both are passionate about, of helping artists to come into that place, and yet it's the thing I think that the enemy wants to get us off of the most,
Yeah, I agree. I think, I love that about our creative process, no matter what that looks like for, creative people, whether it's dance or writing or, or painting or basket making, that it's in that place that you learn to rest. If you're really focusing on the process, or maybe even not focusing on the process, but just kind of doing what you do, it's like the Lord just puts you in that place of rest. And I think that's one of the things that artists enjoy the most, is just that doing, that you call it like this craving to make. Is that what you say? This compulsion to make.
It really is.
And I think, all of us really at our core have that. Like, you have to make art. You can't not be an artist because it's in you. And it's in that process of your life, your creative life, that the Lord teaches you how to rest and just be. It's when we come out of that place and we start wrestling in our mind, what does it mean, and what does other people think of it, and how well is it doing? That's where the striving can come in. And sometimes for artists, I think I said this on your Facebook post, on your article, I think for artists, most artists I know want to change the world. They want to do something. They want to say something with their art.
You want to feel like your art counts. Like,
and that's valid. I think that's what the Lord has put in us. But it's in that place of almost a rebellion to say something different, or a revolution to say something different, that God-given place that we have in us as artists. That's where the striving can begin, that we feel like we have to push into that rather than just rest in it and let it unfold.
That's the thing, I think, because it's like anything that I have to say that is birthed out of a place of, I got to get my point across, or I got to be me, or that sort of place is not, it may be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if it comes out of that place, that's that prideful kind of place, that place that says, it is not a place that's submitted to the Lord, then it really can go in a direction that I don't think God ever intended. And what it then does in us is it builds up something in us that creates this treadmill of, well, now that I've said it, I got to keep it up, and I got to keep, as opposed to being able to rest. And I'm real committed, I think, in my life. I try to be that. We were talking about blogging the other day, and we're really committed at the worship studio to putting out great resources for artists on our website and through videos and that sort of thing. And it can be really easy for us as a ministry to say, okay, we got to blog here, we got to do this, we got to do that,
because we see the need for so much that people want
people
to
are
hear.
asking for,
asking for.
Or we can feel a pressure sometimes to say, well, somebody's got to talk about this. And it was, we talked about in our team meeting the other day. It's like, you know what? we don't need to say anything that God's not saying through us. Because if it doesn't come up out of that place of authenticity, then what are we saying anyway?
Right.
We really only have the authority to say those things that God is working in us. And, I've always kind of, just kind of laughed a little bit at you hear about pastors sometimes that, I went away in January and got all my sermons for the whole year. I'm like, how do you do that? I don't get that, because I feel like, and I think especially as artists, our role is to always be keeping our finger on the pulse of what God's saying in us, what we sense creatively, and kind of to respond to that in this dance. And it's not always as mechanical as as I like to make that.
Yeah, I think, and even something you said earlier, you were coming into recovery when you started, with this book is the process of, you started to say coming out of recovery and you changed it to coming into recovery. Because aren't we always in the process of recovery from whatever has happened in our past, whether that's traumatic or not?
Yeah.
It's like we're always in this place of the journey of recovery. And I see Unlocking the Heart of the Artist as like this, it's here. It's 15 chapters.
Right.
And I've helped people go through this through our online course. And at times there's still people coming at the end of the course going, I still don't know.
Yeah.
And I still don't feel like I'm free. And I still don't know. And then we have some that are like, this has been amazing. It changed my life. It transformed everything. And we have some that have just taken some steps, but they're not really, they're not completely there. And so we like to put it in 15 chapters and say, this will do the job.
Right.
But it doesn't. It's still the recovering process always throughout our whole life. And I see, Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, it has this key on the front of it. And I see it like one key doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It takes lots of keys and lots of doors. And I see our heart like this series of doors. And so it's the unfolding or the unlocking process.
That's right.
Like one door, go a little way.
Yeah.
Another door, go to another spell, as we say in Appalachia, go another spell, and then another door. And it's like in that process, you are becoming more who you are, and you are becoming more of what God wants to make you to be. And so the things that you're saying become more relevant to where you're supposed to be, His destiny for you. And so...
well, the thing I love about that process, I think, too, is that wherever you are in the journey, I think this is one of the main themes of, again, what we do at the worship studio, but it comes out of this place of unlocking or desire to be unlocked, is that wherever you are in the journey, God is there. He's not like out waiting for you at the end saying, well, when you get it right enough or when you jump through this hoop enough, then you can do X, Y, Z for me. It's like wherever you're at, it's like that theory of flow. It's like when the challenge and the skill come together, you find this sweet point, this sweet spot. And we say the same thing with Field and Skilled. When your ability and your inspiration kind of come together, you find this beautiful point of synergy. I think the same is true with us when we can take where we are and offer that to the Lord. It's like He meets us there, and He's able to walk with us on that journey. And that's a beautiful thing because, again, as artists, we're so... the major struggle of my life is perfectionism. I want things to be like I want them. I want them to be, the right way at the right time. I want you to be the way I want you to be.
Everybody pray for me.
Well, I think we see that because
it's Tanya.
And Cameron. That's what I struggle with that, and it's the thing that God is always allowing us. It's like onion skins. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. He's taken us through that process. But the thing that we can all take hope in, I think, is that does not disqualify us from the journey.
Yeah.
If we'll press into that, if we can lean upon the breast of the Lord and just say, man, I screwed it up again, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still in the journey. That is what I want to get out to creative people, because otherwise we get paralyzed and people jettison their faith and their creativity and either just throw God out the window or just pursue art for art's sake, and neither one of those is God's will for our life.
Right. I think about this in the context of how Jesus was with the disciples. He was intimate enough to take the can I say it on the radio, to take the crap that went around as they tried to work together.
Yeah.
You know, and he allowed John to lay on his breast. He allowed John to be that close to him when John needed that, and he allowed Peter to argue with him.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, but they kept walking together, and he
That's
sent
right.
them out anyway. When they were definitely not perfected
Right.
and they were not ready, you know, he sent them out and they wanted to call fire down and blast everybody.
That's right.
And all these things that they could have really messed up on. But he trusted them in the process, in the journey, to go and do what he had imparted to them to do.
That's right.
And I think no matter where we are in our creative journey, no matter what room we're in our heart even, we're valid, and,
Right.
and the Lord wants that expression. And I think, you know, I think a lot about art movements and the evolution of art and what the Lord is trying to express in the earth through that context. And, you know, what I see every time with every art movement and how it began was that there was a group of people that began to, you know, and individually at first, they had these things that they wanted to say and do that were different than what was being done. And then they had these friendships that would form, and then they would form a guild, and they would
Right.
create a show, and it would shock everyone. And out of that place, a new movement was birthed.
Yeah.
And so that's totally about relationship and intimacy. And don't you know, they certainly had arguments, because they, even within, you know, the context of a community of artists, they each had something very special to say, but
Right.
collectively it made sense in a
Right.
brand new way.
Right.
And so certainly with that much passion in the artist, you know how artists
Sure.
are very passionate people.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that going on, you know, how much we certainly know they argued, and they
Yeah.
had very, you know, close times of trying to figure out what was happening with
Right.
them. And so I think that's important to know that through the process of becoming free, like you see in Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, it's not just this 15 chapters and I'll be done.
Right.
You know, it's a process, it's a journey, and
We're
the
going to be
book
talking
is
about
amazing.
that journey here in just
the
a
book
minute.
is amazing
We're going to talk about
help you do that. So
the book and some courses, also a retreat that's coming up, where you can take the step and really engage in community with other artists to go through this process of unlocking the heart of the artist. So we'll be right back here on In the Studio.
Supporting the local community. WGNW 95.7, The Choice.
Programming at 95.7 The Choice is made possible with the generous support of business partners like Area 22 Guitars. Area 22 Guitars is Western North Carolina's only boutique guitar shop. Whether it's an American-made all-tube hand-wired amp like Matchless, Divided by 13, Carr, or Fargen, or a U.S.-built custom luthier electric guitar brand like Anderson, PWE, Zion, Rowan, or Gatto, Area 22 Guitars specializes in the unique needs of the discerning musician. They carry a full line of boutique effect pedals like Keeley, Exotic, Rockbox, Menatone, and Wampler. And their acoustic guitars include Breedlove, Larrivee, Eastman, Bedell, and Crafter. Area 22 Guitars, not your average guitar shop. For more information, go to area22guitars.com or call them at 828-884-2222. That's 828-884-2222. Did God tell you to move to Asheville, but you don't know why? Well, maybe we can help you with that answer. We have named our church after the book of Acts in the Bible. We call it the Acts Church. We as humans have overcomplicated this life here on earth and our understanding of God and the Bible. After all, there are only two things that God has told us to do. We are to love Him and to love each other. Come as you are and meet the love of a lifetime. His name is Jesus Christ. Visit us at actschurchasheville.com.
The world loves thrift stores, and we've just opened one. Acts 2 Thrift Store, sponsored by the Acts Church, is now located at Business Park South on Sweden Creek Road. We have everything from furniture to clothes, tools to toys. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, and we welcome your donation items as well. Just follow the signs to Act 2 Thrift Store.
And you're back with In the Studio. I'm Matt Tommy here with my co-host Pattie Ann Hale. We're glad that you're with us today. You can always listen to us online at 957thechoice.com. or at theworshipstudio.org in our archives, or on Facebook at facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. We love our Facebook group, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's amazing. It's an amazing community in and of itself.
It really is. It is amazing. We were just talking in the break here how everything we do at the Worship Studio is really based in community. It's based in this desire to share the journey. I think partly because so many of us have felt like we're alone or we're the only crazy one in our church, and we're like, wow, we're not the only ones. And you're just sharing about the first gathering of artisans that we have, which is our flagship event that happens every year, the last weekend in September here in Asheville. And talk a little bit about that, because it was interesting, how things have evolved from there, but just the relationships that have formed once people get into this place of really being authentically who God's called them to be.
Yeah, well, it was actually where Wayne and I met you all of you and Claire and Tanya and the whole crew, and it was really amazing, just like the synergy around that first gathering.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was saying, "You're like my best friend, and I've never met you," and it was just really beautiful how people began to really form friendships within 4 days.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed at how those friendships have continued. Many of those relationships, people come up here to Asheville to see us sometimes.
Sure, on the weekends, that's right.
From that we met at that very first gathering, and we just always are having connection with them via Facebook,
right,
through the community, and seeing where their art is going. They're posting pictures and that kind of thing, and it really is a true online community. But often, as a blessing, it really breaks into the real face-to-face life too, because people come and visit us, and we do things together, and they come to our other events, and there's just so many that I could think of. We could just talk about their evolution process of who they have become as an artist since that first gathering.
And personally, you see people just blossoming, and it's
growing,
really,
and friendships growing, and real family forming, and that's beautiful. And it's, I think, what we always want in ministry, but often it's not what's there.
It's amazing to me. I think that as I look at being in ministry all these years and being involved in church leadership and that sort of thing, and then doing the worship studio now these last 4 years, it is amazing to me, this, because people ask me a lot. They're like, Matt, how's the ministry grown so much? How are you doing this and that and the other? And I said, I believe it's the simplicity of being able to look into somebody's eyes and say, I see value in you. I see God in you. I see His spark in you. I see His image in you. What you do is valuable. And so many times in ministry, we have been sold a lie, I think, that it's our job as people that are in the pews to kind of jump on board with somebody else's vision, or to slave away in the children's ministry, painting murals on the wall, or to do get stuck in the media ministry only. And I can say this because I is one. From a worship perspective, it's easy for us in ministry to want to plug creative people into our ministry holes, because artists and creative people make us look really great. But when ministry turns into what it was supposed to be, which is equipping the saints for their work of ministry, that is, my job as a pastor now becomes not getting you to be on board with my vision, but to help you be the best you that God created you to be. You can't keep people away.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of the dynamic of what's going on with this movement of unlocking the heart of the artist. And the thing that's so cool for me now is to get the emails. We got 2 or 3 this weekend of people saying, that are just now putting in their application to be part of our network of creative communities, and they're saying, hey, I've come to an event, I read the book, love what you're doing, really feel a heart connection. Not only do we want to connect, but we want to start this in our area.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is where it kind of comes like a grass fire, because it's just like, wow, other people are getting this, and it feels so much. I don't know. We're not starting churches, but I'm like, we are the church.
Yeah.
We are. This is this kingdom movement of creative people getting free to be who God's really called us to be, and it's contagious, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I think what we find a lot, which is really beautiful, and it was the story, for me and Wayne as well. We'd had these dreams of doing so much of what the worship studios do, and I know a friend of ours that was in Charlotte had said recently, it was like, you had this like in blueprint form before you ever met anybody at the worship studio. And I'm like, I know, right? Because it was like the dreams that were already in my heart, and I had tried to do them.
Yeah.
Wayne and I had pastored a church when we were in Virginia, and we had so much creativity going on that it completely whacked out our traditional community, the little place we were from in Virginia. It was like...
So they came to Weird Town, USA,
Yes,
Asheville, where all of us artists are, and all the cool kids, we say.
So it didn't quite jive with our traditional upbringing, and and we got wounded. And we had done ministry in different contexts before then, but we got really wounded. We took off to to Morning Star, where we thought everybody's weird there, we'll go there. But even there, it was like I still had a mentality really of doing ministry in that context of what you said.
Right.
Tell me what to do, I'll serve you. Leaders, were up here, servants were here, and it was like, as a creative person, yes, leaders were always grabbing at what I could do for them. And I kept walking through the wounded places like that, not realizing that there was anything different than that. And I had tried to do it as a leader, as a pastor, and still, because of that mentality, the community wounded me.
Right.
I took on wounding because of their reaction, because it was still kind of performance-based. How can I do this right,
Yeah.
And, even Morningstar was amazing, wonderful, wonderful leadership and wonderful mentoring that I had there. But I had a leader that really helped me work through some of those issues that, Pattie, we don't want you. We don't want you to just do what we want you to do.
Right.
What's in your heart to do?
Right.
And so that was a real process for me. But I'd kind of just given up on the idea when I'd moved back to Virginia. And then we found out what, you were doing.
Right.
And it was like... again, like, God, I'm not going to do this ever again unless you give me a team to work with, unless you somehow fix me in this. And really, I think what we're doing as the worship studio, that it's very authentic and it's very much based in true relationships. And I love that. And it's just something that I think with the unlocking the heart of the artist really gets at those issues with us as creative people. The workshop that I did actually the first unlocking retreat that we did, we actually weren't even really working together at that point, and you brought me on in faith that I had something to bring, and the Lord just totally gave me a download of this workshop, which actually helps artists deal with issues like how leaders use artists to do the children's ministry or to do murals on the children's walls, and how you can get wounded in those places. It's called A Journey into Living Water, and it's talking about that you don't want to just keep drinking the same water, but you want to be drinking the living water. And it specifically deals with wounds that creative people are probably carrying inside themselves, especially if they've worked in ministry. But it deals with like the issues of being weird, of not fitting in anywhere, of having this revolutionary kind of personality. You don't know what to do with it. It just really deals with a lot. It's a mixed media workshop.
And that's a great lead-in, because we're getting ready to have, every year we always do 2 retreats. One's Gathering of Artisans, which we mentioned. One is called Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, which is more healing and wholeness oriented, but it really is about getting you into that place of fullness. And that workshop, The Journey into Living Waters, that's one of the workshops that you do during Unlocking. And the thing that I love about that weekend is that it's a weekend where you can come and really maybe for the first time be able to open up and say, here's who I really am, or here's what I'm struggling with, and have people that don't look at you like you're weird, but really can affirm where you are, and not just affirm you, but also encourage you, give you tools, real tools, real relationships being built that can sustain you into the next season of what God's got for you. And I just love that. It is funny, because it's like after that weekend of 3 days coming together and really doing the heart work and really we do it in a retreat setting. We love that because it forces you to get away and be, eat around the same table. You can't just, come to a conference with a talking head and then go back to your hotel room, but you're with people all weekend. There's something that happens. There's a download of the Holy Spirit that happens when you're put into beautiful community like that. and it's lasting. There's lasting fruit that begins to happen,
And it's very safe.
Yeah.
It always feels very safe. Like you can go to the most intense places emotionally and through, processing wounding, whether it be in the workshop or with Jim Banks' trauma prayer.
Yeah.
As people are going to intense places where there's real, true healing taking place.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful that you can do that and feel totally safe at the same time. And just watching that is mesmerizing to me. And being a part of it. I mean, the first unlocking was very healing for me.
Yeah.
And,
Pat was just here the other day. They live in Jim and Pat Banks, who lead House of Healing Ministries. They're on our board, for those of you that don't know, and they're with us always at all of our events, really helping to carry the heart of healing and wholeness. But she was here the other day for just in town. A friend of ours is in the hospital, and she came by to see her and stopped by the studio for about an hour, and we were able to talk. And it was just amazing to hear what God's doing with their ministry now, even with this trauma prayer, which they do at the weekend, because she said that they're having it's free on iTunes. You can download it, anybody can download it. And she said they got a testimony the other day from Brazil that a girl's daughter had downloaded it and brought it to her and played it for the mom, who did not speak English. And they had been playing it for a couple of weeks, and the mom was totally healed of whatever was going. And she called the daughter and said, "What is this that you're playing? Because whatever it is totally healed my heart." But again, it gets down to this place of it's the spirit. And I think that's what, again, this whole process of unlocking the heart of the artist is. Let's get past the performance. Let's get beyond the mind games and the mental gymnastics here. Let's really get into the spirit. We were created by the Spirit of God to interact with the Spirit of God, to release His Spirit, His kingdom in the earth. And that's a big part of what this whole thing is about. And so we definitely want to encourage you as you're considering this whole process of unlocking for yourself, whether it's the book or the experience guide or definitely the retreat that's coming up. You can always go to theworshipstudio.org, find out about all those resources, and also go on Facebook and chat us up and find out a little bit more about it. So we're going to be back with our last segment here on In the Studio in just a moment, so don't go away.
WGNW 95.7, The Choice.
Did you know that essential oils were used in biblical times to protect God's people from pestilence? Frankincense, as an example, was said to be good for everything, from gout to a broken head. In other words, good from head to toe. 95.7 The Choice would like to thank Jackie McLaughlin for her generous support. For more information about essential oils, visit oil-essentials.com or call Jackie at 828-452-2958. That's 828-452-2958.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design, overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. And we're back with In the Studio. I'm Matt Tommy. We're here with my co-host Pattie Ann Hale. And you're listening to us today on 95.7 The Choice. You can always listen to a simulcast online at 957thechoice.com, or you can get us at our website, theworshipstudio.org, or join our online community at facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. Over 1,000 artists now on that community, and it's really just awesome to see people's artwork and share the journey. Part of the way that we help people share the journey of Unlocking the Heart of the Artist is a resource that we developed called the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist Experience Guide. And one of the things I love about you, Pattie, is that you're able. I'm a visionary. I see where we're going. I wrote the book, threw it out there, like, come on, everybody. And you're like, let's slow down a little bit. People got to chew on this. And so I always had I had this dream of having a workbook, having something, kind of like a Beth Moore Bible study or something, where you could actually work through and chew on the pieces. But each chapter. But honestly, to do that, I was like, this will never happen because I cannot stay focused enough. And you really had a vision for this and put together this beautiful, experience guide. And the thing that I love about it, it's a big book. If you're watching us on a, what's that thing? Yeah, Ustream today. I'm like, what are we on? It's a, really nice workbook. You can journal in here and that sort of thing as well. But the thing I love is that now we're able to do, through technology just like this, we're able to do an online course, which is so much fun. I think last time we had like 55 different registrants from 7 different countries, which was so awesome because we're talking to them on Facebook, we're talking to them on Skype once a month. Just really neat to see, wherever you are, you may be the only artist that you know in your community or in your church, you can still connect with what God's doing through unlocking the heart of the artist. So, you got a lot of the details right now, but why don't we talk a little bit about, as we're finishing up the show today, about the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist Experience course, because if you can't come to the retreat, I would say this is the next best thing for you to do.
Yeah, and they're all kind of around the same time frame. The retreat is in March, and the online course that we're getting ready to starts February 4th, and it will go on for 4 months. So
which
it
is like 2 weeks away.
Yeah, it's
if you can
coming up
that, right?
right around the corner. But in that course, we use the experience guide in the book, of course. And one of the things about the experience guide is that it really brings, for creative people, I've written several projects in there that helps them to process, which is kind of what I do. I just help people process information, and it's like and do this heart process. And so whether they're a dancer, a musician, a painter, a writer, these projects are built in such a way that no matter what kind of creative you are, you can take on the process, take on the project and the activities, and do the journaling that's in there. And it really pulls people through this very emotional, intense process. It is very emotional and intense. And it can be a real safe way, too. Right. It's a 4-month-long process. The one we did last year was 8 months, and that was a little long for people, I think. Right. But so we're condensing it to 4 months. But it is intense. It's kind of still like drinking from a water hose, from a fire hydrant or something. And so
I was skeptical, because what we do at the retreats, at gathering and unlocking, the other thing when we go, do a retreat at somebody's church or whatever, really people love the personal connection. I mean, that's the thing I always tell our staff and our volunteer team when we do an event. I was like, I want every person to get hugged, get loved, get looked in the eye. That's just really core for us. And so I was like, now how is that going to translate to Facebook and to Skype? Because I'm not so sure. But I tell you what, we were blown away. I think both of us just are at the amount of real connection and community that started happening, and how people in the group would start to take care of each other. That was beautiful. So cool. Yeah.
Because honestly, you and I were like, 55 people.
How can we pastor all these people?
How can we take care of them? Yeah. And and I think in the beginning it was like, oh, we got to really try, and we again get in that kind of performance mode. Got to take care of everything. For me anyway, because I kind of already knew, because I had done some groups like that, of how close, intensely close and intimate even online relationships could become in book studies like that, because I'd done some of those before and really felt like these people were my friends. And so for me it was like, look at everything, know every person, and I really did throughout really know each person that was in that group. But I think we started to go, we've got to relax. And when we did, which is totally what usually does not happen in ministry, but when we began to relax, they began to really blossom and take care of one another. And it was so beautiful to watch. And we saw so much transformation. But, it's through the process of the activities and the projects that they do and sharing that with one another that your creativity really comes into this process of unlocking the heart. And so it's really hands-on, and it's actually more hands-on in some ways than we can cover in a weekend in the retreat. So even if you do both, it'd be great. But
well, that's what I love. I've always said that when you can connect somebody's heart with their creativity, and their mind with their creativity, because a lot of times it's easy to read a book and think, oh yeah, those are great concepts and I should do that. But there's something that happens Jonathan and Melissa Helzer have this great thing they do in the summers for college-age kids called the 18-inch journey. And it reminds you that there's a long way between the head and the heart. And the book, you can read it, and God obviously does incredible things in your heart. There are questions at the end that you can journal on, but when you put it with creative activity, it's like, again, the mental gymnastics come down. You're able to really engage, and real transformation happens. And it's just it's a beautiful thing that can happen whether you're with people physically or you're with them in an online community as well.
And so even if you get these resources and go on this journey on your own, or even in a small group, in your church or in your community, just gathering, a couple of artists together, doing it together or doing it on your own, it's really that process of really causing yourself to step back, slow down, and really process the pieces so that you can't get away from it.
Right.
You can't read over the parts that you're like, oh, I don't want to touch that yet. It really forces you to go through this process. And but I think the best thing, though, is when you have the book, the information, the process, the questions, then the experience guides, you have the projects and the activities, and then you put that with the course and you have community. And then on top of that, if you come to the retreat and you have that face-to-face, often with people that are in that course with you, because a lot of times that happens, then it's just you can't get away from God in that. You just can't. Somebody said about your book, it's the purpose-driven life. Who
for
says
artists,
that? It's the purpose-driven life for artists.
Yeah.
And so it really is, because it touches on all the foundational things of who we are as creative people. Right. And it gives lots of answers. The Lord really gave lots of answers to those questions through you and what you wrote. But it also gives you that freedom to know that this is not a fix-all. Yeah. This is to help you process who you are.
Well, I think the thing I love too about this is that, like any kind of creativity, once we put it out there, once we're faithful to do the part that we have, then it goes out there and begins to take on this whole life of its own.
Yeah.
And other people begin to add their salt and pepper to it, and it's really humbling to see now all the things that are happening. But I would just say that we're talking a lot about this book today, but I think that's true for all of our creativity, that if we'll be faithful to do the thing that God has put in our heart and put it out there, then it's up to Him to bring the increase. It's up to Him to bring the voice and the impact. And, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about, at the beginning, about not feeling the pressure to perform. If we can just be who God's called us to be and be faithful to that and come into that place of enjoying that process with Him, then when the work goes out, when the overflow of our heart, our creativity goes out, He'll give it the voice that it needs to have.
Yeah.
And there's no pressure. I just love that. It's a beautiful place.
In the experience course that we did last year, you just knew that the Lord was really working in the hearts of these people, because they would be taking it a chapter at a time, doing the activities, reading one chapter at a time. And all of a sudden, all of these little frustrations and things would come up. Oh, I don't know what to do about this, and what about this in my heart, and what about that? And I would look at the next chapter and be like, oh, we're getting ready to go right there.
Right, this, right.
And it was like the Lord had already prepared the uncomfortable place for them. I mean, I think sometimes we want to just get rid of the uncomfortable place. But we need to realize that it's like the Lord is working in that. It's like all the soil's getting toiled up. It's getting torn up and messed up. But He's planting things there. And He's getting ready to give a harvest. And I found that to be true throughout through the course, and getting to see other people's process through that. It was like, oh, there's something getting ready to bloom in you, and that's why you're feeling this uncomfortable place.
And the thing I love, too, is that for men and for women, it really is, it's not like, because a lot of times people can think, oh, well, this is a really touchy-feely process, maybe it's going to be mostly for women. We're seeing the same things happen for men, whether they be young or old, rich, poor, musician, visual artist, whatever it is. It's like, at the core, we have this same creative DNA, and God's doing the same thing. And so, maybe you're listening today and, you're a painter, but your husband's a musician, or maybe a woodworker or something like that, and is facing some of these things, but never really considered themselves an artist. This whole process is something for, I love it when a husband and wife does it together, or you're a mom and a kid or something like that. It's really a neat process. So, Well, I really can't believe it, but we're coming down to the very end here of our time today on In the Studio. And again, we just want to always point you to the website, theworshipstudio.org. Lots of great blogs and resources for your creative journey going on. I love it when people take one of the blogs or something, use it as their small group journey, maybe at wherever they are in the world, or watch a video and become inspired. But we really want to encourage you in this time of year. It's really time to think about, taking advantage of one of these experience courses, coming to be with us in Asheville for a retreat, or just picking up the resources on Amazon or on our website. They're going to help to take you to the next level. And we not only want you to get those, but also connect with the wider body of artists that are with the worship studio, and even start a group in your area. I mean, that's the beautiful thing that I think where it kind of hits home, like we've said all day today, is once you can take these things and bring them into your life and then expand the journey to those around you and really build community. So anyway, we're so glad you've been with us today, and visit us online, visit us on Facebook, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time here on In the Studio.